Alright, so today is the self-improvement group sesh day, so these will just be like topics that are like about like mentality and like I mentioned, like self-improvement, so not necessarily as related to Apex Legends, but more about like how you think about the game, how you think about your performance, about like the overall process of it. The reason like why I think this topic is so important is because in any given situation, right, like it'll draw on, like any given situation will draw on different segments of your skill, right? Like you'll have like different kinds of shots, you'll need to make different sorts of judgment calls, you might be playing different characters or different legends, maybe just different points of the game, right? Like end game and early game are two different beasts entirely. So the common thing in all of those situations is, well, you, and how you think about the situation, how you think about improvement, how you think about dealing with success or failure.
First blood. Keep it up.
And so that's like why I put so much emphasis personally like on mentality, because I think it just feeds everything else. Sorry, mildly distracted. So the topic for today is like motivations, right? Like understanding like why you play the game and like why you care, why you're trying to improve it all, can help you, I guess, like make more intelligent and like meaningful decisions about like the way that you play. So there are like lots of reasons like why people play games, right? I think a lot of people don't spend a lot of time thinking about what these reasons are. So like you might play for out of like a desire to, you know, like feel like you're better than someone else, right? Or to gain like approval from others, right? Like it may be like externally motivated. You may play for like externally motivated factors. Running out of ammo. Or you may be internally motivated. So you may be playing for reasons like you just like enjoy trying to improve and push past your own limitations. You may play for social reasons because like, you know, your friends play the game and you like, want to play together, and that's fun for you. Totally fine, totally valid. You may play because like you, I don't know, you just enjoy the game. Like you just straight up for like the love of the game, right? You play because like you want to distract yourself, but like understanding like what those motivations are, right? Like helps you, I think, like stay grounded, I guess. Like when things don't go your way. Oops. So a player that like is like very focused on, you know, like being better than enemies and than their opponents will often, I think, like be disappointed because like you don't have control over how good you are and how good your opponents are, right? Like you. I desperately need their ammo.
Enemy down. Killed an enemy.
So like a lot of people, you know, like rage because like they're like not like in sync like with like what their motivations for playing are, and so when things don't go the way they want, they don't know why and they don't understand why, and so they don't feel like they're in control of the situation and in control of like what's going on in their experience within the game. And the unfortunate truth is actually that you have very little control over like what happens within the game. You can't force yourself to perform better. You can't force your enemies to perform worse, right? Like you're all just going to, you're as good as you are. Like you're the sum and culmination of whatever experience and knowledge you have at that point. And like all you can do really, realistically, right, is make a best effort to execute excellently. And then like whatever happens like beyond that, you know, that was not smart. Sorry, I'm like also like trying to deal with fighting people at the same time, so it's making it hard to have this conversation that I think is very important. But yeah, I think like, you know, like trying to like figure out like, you know, like a positive place to play the game from, right? Like that is meaningful to you and like doesn't like really like hinge on sort of like other people and what they do and what they think and how they act towards you. Like will help you like get to like a better place in the game, right? Like for me personally, like I play because I just like want to improve, right? Like I enjoy the experience overall of like learning and growing and becoming like better than I was before, and like it's just like I just see like my whole experience with the game is like a journey. And so like when things don't go well, right, like of course like I'm not super thrilled about that, and I'm not sitting there as like, oh, this is great, right? But it's like I recognize that that's like just part of like my experience with the game, and part of like the reason like why I'm here to begin with, right, is like to be challenged and to grow, right? And so it's like, so having difficult days, right, and like not performing well, having difficult games, like that, like that's all just like, you know, part of like the whole reason I'm here to begin with, right? So it's like, so I don't really get like as angry. Like I get disappointed, right? I get frustrated sometimes, right? But it's like I don't feel like entitled to like a certain level of performance. It's like whatever's going to happen is what's going to happen. Like the only thing I can do is like continue to try and tee myself up for success. Do like the things that are necessary in order to be good at the game, which involve practice and discipline. Oh, I'm actually probably going to die here. That was like I got a little bit scatterbrained there because I was getting distracted by having to play the game at the same time. Is the challenge. I mean, like that's like just like something I'm trying to get better at, right? So it's like I don't get like too hung up on like ranks or on things like even like the affiliate status, right? Like as a streamer on Twitch, or like, you know, being like a partner on YouTube, or how many views I get, because like I recognize it's like that, like I'm not as good as I can be, right? So it's like, and all of those other things are like external forms of measurement, and like yeah, like they can help like me like be like help me be like a little bit more informed about like sort of like the progress I'm making like on like different fronts and everything, right? But like they're not like the end in it of themselves. Like the stats, like you know, like the stats aren't the reason like why you play. Like you're not there for the stats or the titles. Like you, like at least for me, it's like, you know, I'm just there like to be better than I was like the day before.
Repulsors, check. Stabilizers, check. Base buddy, check.
And it's like, you know, like strangely enough, like, you know, like when I play from this place, right? Like I desire for my opponents to play well. I get mad when they play poorly because like I want to have like good games and like encounter good competition. I don't like want to like win for free or get easy wins, right? Like that like feels like really, I mean, I guess just disappointing.
This is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like from like that perspective, right? Like competition can be considered like a collaborative effort because like both parties are trying in an ideal situation, right? Like both parties are just trying to challenge each other to the greatest extent possible, so that like the game's not boring, right? Like because the game's boring if it's like, too easy. So like that's like why like you play against people instead of like playing like games like that are like, you know, PvE, where like the opponents like play like bots and like you don't have to think at all. Like if there's no chance that the enemy was ever going to hit any shots like every single time you fought, right? Like would it feel that rewarding to like beat people? Probably not. But yeah, so I guess like, you know, like I guess to tie it off with the bow, that's like sort of like my message for like the mentality part of the, like of the week, right? Is like just like spend some time thinking about your motivations, like why you play the game. It's like okay to like play because like, you know, you just like, you know, like beating people or you want to style on people or whatever. It's like, you know, like that's like fine. It's just like, you know, you just have to be realistic with yourself. It's like, you know, so like that when that doesn't happen, right? Like you just have to know it's like that's like, and like you can't get frustrated, right, about that, because it's like that's like what I've chosen like as my motivation for playing the game. And you can't also like expect other people to always like want to like play into that, right? Because everyone comes to the game for different reasons. You can't get like, I mean, like you can't like you can get mad about like whatever you want. I mean, like you're a person, but it's like I suppose it's just like if you just think it through a little bit, like there's really no need to. So that's pretty much all I got. Just, you know, my suggestion for the week. If you want to spend time working on, there are people on me, like working on like mentality stuff, is to spend some time thinking about like why you play the game. devotion, distribution.